Welcome back to True Crime Story, where we dive deep into real-life cases that leave the world stunned. I'm Samuel, a private detective and investigator, and today we're uncovering a chilling case of deception, manipulation, and cold-blooded murder. This is the story of a man who fooled not just his family and friends, but even law enforcement. For weeks, he played the role of the grieving widower, gaining sympathy from the entire nation. But behind closed doors, he was hiding a dark and horrifying secret. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. And don't forget to leave a comment below. What do you think about this case? Could you have spotted the warning signs before it was too late? Let's get into it. Chapter 1. A love story too good to be true. Love can make us blind. It can make us ignore red flags, overlook warning signs, and fall for illusions rather than reality. And for Emily Dawson, a bright, adventurous, and free-spirited teenager growing up in Austin, Texas, love arrived in the form of Daniel Carter, a confident, charismatic, and financially successful helicopter pilot. Daniel wasn't just a man, he was a dream come true. At 27 years old, he had everything a girl like Emily could ever imagine. He was well-traveled, well-dressed, and well-spoken. He had an aura of excitement and mystery, living a life that seemed like it was straight out of a movie. And for a 15-year-old girl craving adventure, his attention was intoxicating. Their love story began in a way that could have been taken from the pages of a romance novel. Daniel flew over Emily's high school in his private helicopter, circling the campus as students looked up in amazement. And then, as if straight from a Hollywood film, he landed nearby, flashing a charming smile and making his way toward her. From that moment on, he pursued her relentlessly. He showered her with expensive gifts, jewelry, designer handbags, and handwritten love letters filled with poetic words that seemed too perfect to be real. He told her she was special, different from other girls, that she belonged with him. He promised her a life filled with adventure, luxury, and romance. To Emily, Daniel was everything she had ever dreamed of. But what she didn't realize was that she had just stepped into a carefully orchestrated trap. Emily's parents were immediately concerned. They saw the 12-year age gap as a massive red flag. A successful, almost 30-year-old man pursuing a high school girl. Something wasn't right. But Daniel was calculated and manipulative. He wasn't just charming, he was strategic. He met her parents, played the role of the respectful, loving boyfriend, and convinced them that his feelings for Emily were genuine. Over time, he won their trust. And when that wasn't enough, he convinced Emily that they were the problem, that they just didn't understand their love. At 16 years old, Emily made the biggest decision of her life. She ran away with Daniel, leaving behind her family, her friends, and the safety of her childhood home. They eloped, exchanging vows in a small, intimate ceremony far away from prying eyes. She thought she was stepping into the greatest love story ever told. She had no idea she was walking into a nightmare. The perfect marriage, or was it? At first, life with Daniel felt like a fairy tale. He moved her into a luxurious mansion in San Diego, California, a stunning house that overlooked the ocean. They traveled the world together, ski trips in Switzerland, yacht parties in Miami, romantic getaways in the Maldives. On social media, they looked like the perfect couple, sharing breathtaking photos of their glamorous life. But behind the scenes, cracks began to form. Daniel was not the loving, romantic man Emily had fallen for. He was possessive, controlling, and dangerously manipulative. At first, the control was subtle. He suggested she dress a certain way, saying he preferred her to look classy. He discouraged her from talking to certain friends, saying they were jealous of their love. He made her dependent on him, convincing her that he was the only one who truly cared about her. But over time, his control became suffocating. He monitored her phone, checking every text message and call. He dictated where she could go and who she could see. He isolated her from her family, manipulating her into believing they were against her. Emily felt trapped. She had once been a fearless, independent teenager, but now she was a prisoner in her own home. At 20 years old, Emily gave birth to their baby girl. She had hoped that becoming parents would soften Daniel, that he would become the loving husband she had once believed him to be. Instead, he became worse. He was paranoid, possessive, and increasingly aggressive. And by the time their daughter was 6 months old, Emily had made a decision that would change everything. She was going to leave him. She was going to take her daughter and escape. She had no idea that Daniel would never let that happen. The night of terror. On May 11th, 2021, at 4:30 a.m., a chilling 911 call came through. "Help! They broke in! They killed my wife! They tied me up!" The voice on the phone was frantic. Daniel's breathing was heavy, his words shaky. Within minutes, police officers arrived at their home. What they found inside was the stuff of nightmares. Emily's lifeless body lay on the bed, her face frozen in horror. She had been suffocated to death. Their 6-month-old baby was beside her, crying, alive but terrified. A window was shattered, glass littering the floor. Their golden retriever was found hanged from the staircase railing, a disturbing and unnecessary act of violence. And Daniel? He was on the floor, his hands tied behind his back, his face bruised. He told the police a terrifying story. 3 masked men had broken in. They had demanded money. They had threatened the baby. When Emily refused to cooperate, they killed her before tying him up and escaping. The case shocked the nation. Daniel became a symbol of grief, a broken husband seeking justice for his murdered wife. He made tearful TV appearances, holding his baby girl, pleading for the killers to be found. The world believed him. But then detectives found the truth. The web of lies unraveled. At first, law enforcement believed Daniel's story. The crime scene looked like a classic home invasion gone wrong. A broken window, a bound and beaten husband, a murdered wife, and a terrified infant left behind. The story was heartbreaking, and Daniel played his role flawlessly. He sobbed during interviews, clutched his baby girl tightly, and begged the public for help in finding the monsters who had taken his wife. His grief seemed genuine, his pain real. The media sympathized with him, painting him as a loving husband whose world had been shattered overnight. But as detectives began analyzing the evidence, inconsistencies started to appear. Surveillance footage from nearby homes showed no signs of any intruders entering or leaving the property that night. Emily's smartwatch revealed that her heart had stopped beating more than an hour before. Daniel claimed the intruders arrived. The broken window, the supposed point of entry for the attackers, had been shattered from the inside, not the outside. The murder of the family dog seemed excessive and staged, a gruesome detail meant to mislead investigators and gain sympathy. The more detectives dug, the less sense Daniel's story made. Then they found the smoking gun, Daniel's own phone records. In the hours before he called 911, Daniel had spent time searching online for ways to simulate a home invasion. He had watched videos on tying oneself up, and even looked up how long it takes to suffocate someone without leaving visible marks. The case was blown wide open. For 37 days, Daniel had fooled the world, including the FBI, which had briefly assisted in the investigation. He had stood at Emily's memorial service, holding their daughter in his arms, speaking about love, loss, and justice. But on June 17th, 2021, while standing among grieving friends and family at Emily's memorial, police approached Daniel. They asked him to come with them for further questioning. Confident he had outsmarted everyone, Daniel agreed without hesitation. But this time, detectives weren't asking questions. They were presenting evidence. The confession and justice served. Inside the interrogation room, Daniel's confidence quickly crumbled. Detectives laid out the truth, piece by piece. The break-in was staged. The timeline didn't match his version of events. The forensic evidence proved Emily had been killed long before. He called 911. The internet searches on his phone exposed his premeditation. For hours, Daniel denied everything. He insisted the police were wrong, that they were failing his wife by not finding her real killers. He cried, yelled, and begged. But then he broke. With his head in his hands, he confessed. There were no masked intruders. There was no robbery. Emily had told him she was leaving, that she was taking their daughter and never coming back. For Daniel, that was unacceptable. In his twisted mind, if he couldn't have Emily, no one could. So in the dead of night, while their baby slept beside them, Daniel pressed a pillow over Emily's face and held it there until she stopped struggling. Then he staged the entire crime scene, breaking the window, tying himself up, and killing their family dog to make the story seem more believable. Finally, he picked up the phone and called 911, putting on the performance of his life. But the act was over. Daniel Carter was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, animal cruelty, and filing a false police report. At his trial, prosecutors painted a picture of a calculating, manipulative man who had spent years controlling Emily, only to murder her when she finally tried to escape. The jury took less than 2 hours to convict him. Daniel Carter was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Emily Dawson never got the chance to escape. But her story serves as a warning that sometimes the most perfect love stories hide the darkest secrets. Final thoughts. What do you think about this case? Did Daniel really believe he could get away with it? Could Emily have been saved if someone had noticed the warning signs sooner? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this case chilling, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more true crime stories like this. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and remember, the truth always comes out.